last Tuesday morning, reading, Kerry and Chris Shook wrote about their kids building sandcastles. And as parents, as grandparents, if you've never helped your kids build sandcastles or been there while they're doing it, I just want to say you missed out. It's a worthwhile exercise just to be there. Now, there are some folk who kind of do this sandcastle, sand sculpturing thing, it's kind of like for a living, and they do it with excellence. They build sculptures in intricate details on our beaches. They are very gifted at it, and that's one of my favourites right there. That's sand. With people put in the sand. That one's called the Skoda sand car. Right, you've seen that on TV? I'll tell you more about it shortly, but I've always been impressed by the Skoda sand car. But here's what I've noticed. No matter how fantastic and detailed the sand castles are, the sand sculptures are, when the tide comes in, the sand castle is gone. And the next morning it's a flat beach, a level beach, no trace of any sand sculpture or sand castle left. And if you want to have another Skoda sand sculpture there or a sand castle, you can't do it all over again. And I think sometimes life is like that. Mums, dads, right? You do the dishes. Mealtime comes. They're all dirty, you've got to do them again. Make the beds in the morning. Well, maybe not this morning because you're in a rush, but usually, right? Kids come home, they sleep in those beds, go through it all over again. Take the kids to school. Guess what, tomorrow morning, well, not tomorrow morning, it's public holiday. Do it Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, all over again. Pick the kids up from school. Next day you're picking them up again. And on it goes, and do the thing, and it's like the tide came in and washed it away, you've got to redo it again. And here's the thing I want to say this morning. It may seem that all that you do just gets swept away with the tide, but in reality, parents, anyone else, you are building a legacy for eternity. Even though the tide seems going to wipe it all away. God has placed a deep desire in our hearts to live a life that matters. That's what I want mine to do, to make a lasting mark on this earth, to leave a legacy. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 12 to 14. If any man builds on this foundation, using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, his work will be shown for what it is, because the day, capital D, there is a day coming, a day of reckoning, because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each man's work. If what he has built survives, he will receive his reward. Every day of my life, I'm building for a legacy, to leave something behind. Every moment of every day, you and I, we get to choose what materials we will build with. We can build with temporary materials, or we can build with eternal materials. And if I'm going to leave a lasting legacy, well, then it's going to be the eternal material. And I want to say this morning, there are 3 materials that I can build with that will leave a lasting legacy. Only 3 materials that will weather the waves of life. They won't be swept away by the tide. Number 1, convictions. Number 2, character. And number 3, community. Convictions are those core values from God's Word that never change. Never ever change. Convictions are eternal. Isaiah 40 verse 8, the grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of our God stands forever. Trends and styles come and go, you know that, but God's Word never changes. The best-selling book list is always changing. It always is changing. The top 40 is always changing, but God's Word never changes. It is truth. And so Jesus said, John's Gospel, chapter 17, verse 17, your word is truth. Jesus said that. God's Word was truth when Jesus said that. It's truth today. It'll be truth tomorrow. It'll still be true in 2,000 years' time. And it is truth forever. And so my convictions have to come from God's Word. My core values come from God's Word, and they will never change if they're based on God's Word. They're rock solid. Matthew 7:26, love this from the Message. But if you use my words in Bible studies and don't put them into your life, you are like a stupid carpenter who built his house on a sandy beach. And you know what happens on a sandy beach? It's a dove comes in. So here's the point. Don't just study the Bible, but put it into your life to be a conviction. Now, let's just say that I've been reading, and if you look at me, you'll probably see evidence of this, but I've been reading Arnold Schwarzenegger's encyclopedia on modern bodybuilding, right? So I'm reading it, and I'm excited about that book. In fact, I'm motivated by it. I'm challenged by it. It's just setting me on fire inside. I'm so challenged by what I read. But if I do not apply it to my life, I'm going to just look like... Bring it up, there we go. And that's on a good day when I'm dressed up, which you won't see too often with my lovely wife, Lara. I just look like that, nothing changed at all. But if I'm reading that book and applying those principles to my life, I'm doing it. Look at me now. Pastor Sarah put that together, and she was working hard on it, and Mandy in the front office came and said, "Whoa, look at Gordon in his underpants." Look at it. I said to my wife, "We're going to have a picture of me up on the screen and see my underpants." "You don't dare do that." I said, "No, you're going to love it. You're going to love it." Check me out when I get home. A belief is something you hold on to. A conviction is something that holds on to you. And we're talking about core values and convictions. A conviction is core values from God's Word. And these core values are anchors in our life every day, every moment of every day. The storms of life can wash up all the waves onto the beach, and your values still will remain. They will never get washed away by the tide because they are eternal. You can stay forever. So firstly, conviction on those core values. Secondly, character. When you die, and frankly, I don't want to give you any bad news this morning, you can get that anywhere, but that's our lot one day, all of us. When you die, the only thing you will take with you is your character. That's who you are. So what are you going to take? What are you going to take? Romans 8:29, the message. God knew what he was doing from the very beginning. He decided from the outset to shape the lives of those who love him along the same lines as the life of his Son. So from the very beginning, God had plans for you, and God had plans for me to shape us, shape our lives along the lines of the life of his Son. His plan was and is to make each one of us more and more like Jesus. He's doing that, that's what he wants to do. Now the great sculptor Michelangelo was asked, "How did you sculpt the famous statue David?" And he said, "Well, I just kept on chipping away everything that didn't look like David." It was as simple as that. Just chip away. And that's what Jesus is doing with your life. He says, "I want you to look like me." And you say, "Oh, there's something that doesn't look like Jesus." So he just chips it away. How many of you know that Jesus has been chipping away at you? Thank you, one honest person will do it. And Jesus is chipping away at you. He wants to chip away all the character flaws, all the defects, all the faults that don't look like Jesus. And I'm telling you, when he chips away, it might hurt. If someone starts chipping at you, it's likely to hurt. He wants you to look more and more like Jesus.